Everybody wants to make positive changes in their life, but the real difference is what you do daily, not just what you dream about. Results, they are a kind of lagging effect of those daily deposits that we make when it comes to discipline versus motivation. Welcome, everybody, to the Live Your Purpose podcast. My name is Sayer, and here at the Live Your Purpose podcast, we want to inspire you to live every single day on purpose. And if you haven't done so already, we really appreciate if you hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this, whatever podcast platform, as well as if you want to watch the show on YouTube, we really appreciate you going over there and hitting subscribe as well. If you get value from this type of content, a little bit different format once again today. It's just going to be you and me having a conversation about one of my favorite subjects. And it is one of those subjects that it's kind of easy to write down on paper. It's kind of easy to understand, and it's difficult to implement, right? It's this thing about discipline versus motivation. It's this thing about creating healthy habits to help us live out our purpose in life, the power of daily habits and being a finisher, not just a starter, right? Every single year at the beginning of a new year, what do we talk about? We talk about New Year's resolutions. We talk about setting goals for the new year. We talk about, hey, how can I finally start to implement this in my life? Whether it is working out, whether it's reading more, whether it's listening to more podcasts, whether it's growing via learning in some sort of way, just that positive change that we talked about, right? You want to be the best version of you that you can possibly be, and you want to implement certain things in your life to make those changes. I can't say that I get it right all the time by any stretch, but I do feel like there's some simple things that we can discuss and some things that I've kind of learned over time as well that have helped me reach certain goals in my life. And I want to walk with you as we kind of pursue this purpose together. So if that's you today, let's lean in. We're going to talk about some discipline versus motivation and why daily habits matter, right? Habits are pretty simple, right? We all have them. We all have our daily routine. We all have our daily regimen, and habits, they compound like interest, right? It's these small daily deposits that multiply over time. One of my favorite books that I ever read, a book that was actually given to me by one of my older brothers, is called The Compound Effect, right? And some of you have probably read that book, or maybe you've read the book Atomic Habits. But these books kind of talk about how these small daily deposits that we make have huge impact over time. And this is a concept that I love to go back to because you see the effects of this. The best way that I can lay this out is to say, okay, if you want to read 300 pages, it's a bit daunting to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and read 100 pages today, 100 pages tomorrow, and 100 pages the next day, and I'm going to knock out these 300 pages. That's a daunting task. But if you say, I want to read 300 pages, and you give yourself 10 pages a day for 30 days, that's much more digestible. What you're doing is you're spreading it out over time to make it more digestible for you to actually implement in your daily life. That's one of the number one reasons why I think that we don't necessarily stick with these habits that we want to form in our daily lives, right? Is the fact that it's just too daunting. I'm cutting way too many calories. I'm adding way too much on my plate in terms of trying to get into the gym and work out. I'm trying to do this. Do you remember the 75 hard or whatever that was, right? There was this whole craze, this workout craze where people were saying, hey, for 75 days, you're going to work out inside for 60 minutes. You're going to work out outside for 60 minutes. You're going to do this in terms of reading this amount of pages. Like, it was the craziest regiment that I've ever heard for 75 straight days. And you might be able to do that for a couple of days, might even be able to do it for a couple of weeks. But ultimately, when you set an unrealistic expectation for yourself, you're going to get overwhelmed at some point in time. So making those daily habits digestible deposits that you can put forth every single day, and doing something that you know, hey, I can knock out 10 pages. I can knock out 30 minutes in the gym. I can do 20 minutes on the treadmill. There's a huge gap between where you are and where you will be when you actually implement habits instead of these, we take steps instead of these giant leaps, right? And our identity, it really is shaped by what we repeatedly do, right? If I repeatedly read 10 pages a day for an entire year, that's 365 days times 10 pages a day. You do the math. One of the things that I like to think about is, I read a chapter of the Bible every single day, right? That allows me to be able to read the entire New Testament and more in a full year. And I've set a goal before of I want to read the entire Bible in a year. There's plans within the Bible app to be able to go ahead and do that. You can find digestible daily habits that you can implement into your life without it being overwhelming. I think that's one of the number one reasons why, hey, we start something and we don't finish is because it becomes so overwhelming. We want those instant results, right? We want to erase the body fat right away. We want to finish the book right away. We want to have the results right away. And because that doesn't often happen, man, we get discouraged and we just end up kind of, falling off or quitting entirely and not picking it back up. What we need to do is we need to take small steps, not think in terms of giant leaps when it comes to daily habits, because those daily habits will shape our identity. And when you do build those habits, you're not just going to achieve goals. You're going to become the type of person who does those things, right? You're going to become the type of person who works out 5 or 6 days a week, or maybe it's 2 or 3 days a week. You're going to become the type of person who reads scripture every single day. You're going to be the type of person who finishes a book every month, because you're setting those reachable goals and you're taking daily steps, plotting out, hey, I can do this every day. I can do 10 pages a day. I can do 20 minutes a day. Take those daily digestible steps. Tracking progress is another huge thing. And we mentioned it briefly, but setting clear goals, you cannot improve what you don't measure, right? Tracking gives you feedback loops and it tracks whether or not you're actually moving, right? And if you're not actually making progress, if you're not moving forward, what needs to be adjusted? See, these goals that we have, they create direction. The habits, they create momentum, right? So this past couple of years, I've had fitness goals, right? I've always wanted to be at a certain percentage of body fat to be able to see my abs, right? I've never been able to see my abs. And I always wondered, like, why is this not happening? I feel like I'm working out consistently. I feel like I'm eating okay. And I feel like I should be seeing these results that I want to see. It wasn't until I started tracking calories that I was able to find out, hey, what's going in is greater than what's coming out. And the calorie thing is a very simple example to understand exactly why tracking matters when it comes to setting our goals, right? Let's say you have a goal of losing 5 pounds. 5 pounds of fat is not just going to disappear because you're eating, Chick-fil-A instead of McDonald's, right? Just because it's chicken doesn't mean that it's not fried chicken. You can't know that you're actually in a calorie deficit unless you know that you're in a calorie deficit, right? So what does that mean? Well, it means you've got to collect certain data. If you want to get stronger in the gym, you've got to know how much weight you did today and yesterday and the week before, and you've got to know how much more you can push yourself. You've got to do what's called progressive overload. You can't increase your strength until you're increasing the amount of reps that you're doing or the amount of weight that you're pushing. If you're trying to drop body fat, you can't do that unless you know for certain that you're in a caloric deficit. So you need tools that will help you. You need to weigh yourself. You need to know how much calories you're eating every single day. You need to probably have a food scale to see how much of what food you're eating in terms of every single gram. And tracking things matters so much because, once again, you can't improve what you don't measure. So you have a goal in mind and you create these habits to try and create momentum, and you need to know what you're measuring and what you're trying. If you're trying to achieve a certain goal, if you're trying to achieve something specific, you have to have specific data points to help you along the way. Ultimately, we don't know what we don't know, right? If we're not willing to put forth the effort in terms of tracking our progress, how are we going to know that we're making progress? So that would be one of my biggest encouragements to you. If you do have goals that you're setting, whether it's financial, whether it's in terms of, reading, or if it's losing weight, or if it's gains in the gym, or whatever your goals may be, We absolutely have to track progress when it comes to our goals that we're setting if we want to live on purpose every single day, because what gets managed gets measured, and what gets measured can ultimately contribute to those goals that we have. So daily tracking is a big, big deal when it comes to, hey, I want to make these positive changes in my life. I want to start new habits. I want to form new habits. This is critical. Tracking your progress. A quote that I heard from a pastor of mine, he said that starters are a dime a dozen and finishers are one in a million, right? Anybody can start anything. Starting, it only requires motivation. You could be motivated by a lot of different things. You could be motivated by somebody that you see on social media. You could be motivated by something that you heard in church. You could be motivated by a friend. You could be motivated by looking in the mirror. There's so many different modes of motivation out there, right? There's so many different ways that we can be motivated, but finishing, it requires perseverance, it requires humility, and ultimately it requires daily repetition, those daily deposits that we talked about, right? See, finishers, they're not relying on hype or novelty. They are dedicated to the grind. They rely on the systems that they put in place, right? Tracking, goal setting. See, when it comes to starters being a dime a dozen, what that means is that you shouldn't be discouraged by being motivated to make a change. It should encourage you to be disciplined in maintaining that change, right? Because it requires doing that boring stuff after the excitement fades. After, we see it all the time. You make an announcement, and I'm as guilty of this as anybody, but you make an announcement on your social media page like, hey, I'm making this change today. I'm starting this journey today. I'm going to become this person starting today. I'm not going to be this person that I was anymore starting today. We make these declarations and we're motivated for a moment. We buy all the new gym gear, or we fill up our to read list with all these different books that are, man, they were recommended by so and so, and they're just going to absolutely change the course of my life if I can retain some of this information. We make all these different lists of reasons why we're motivated, but ultimately it's those daily deposits. So starters are a dime a dozen, finishers are one in a million. The question is, which one do we want to be today? And you can find a million different ways to motivate yourself for a moment, but how often are we willing to do those things that we have to be disciplined to do when it's boring, when you're not making any announcement about a huge change, right? Discipline is a decision. It's like a muscle that you train, and you can't wait until you feel like it. But sometimes you do have to act your way into a feeling. There's going to be days where you're like, I don't want to get up and read because I want to spend that extra 10 minutes sleeping, or I just kind of want to have a lazy morning and I don't want to engage my brain when I'm not necessarily feeling it. Or maybe you have a day where you're just like, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm not feeling it today. If you skip one, don't skip two. Or if you miss one, don't miss two. Don't beat yourself up for missing a day of something that you're trying to do. Don't beat yourself up for having a cheat meal. Don't beat yourself up for not getting 10 pages in a day, but don't miss the next day, right? Give yourself the opportunity to bounce back and believe that you can stay disciplined even when you do sort of fall off for a day. We can't be so condemning of ourselves when it comes to creating and implementing these habits, because if we do, we'll kind of get dejected, right? We'll kind of feel like, well, it's just not worth it anymore. I didn't keep up my streak, and because I didn't keep up my streak, I'm just not gonna even try anymore. Obviously, I can't do it for any extended period of time. You can miss a day, just don't miss two, right? Get back on the wagon the next day. And sometimes you do have to act your way into a feeling, right? What if it's laying out your gym clothes the night before? You got to wake up early if you're going to make it to the gym, right? So lay out your gym clothes the night before. Or it's meal prepping, if it's, setting the book in a place that you'll never forget it, right? In the bathroom or wherever it may be. Just set yourself up for success by pre-deciding what you're going to do, and then go ahead and make those actions before you have an opportunity to say no, right? Something that I love when it comes to creating and implementing habits is this thing called habit stacking. I read about this concept of habit stacking in a book by Mark Batterson it's so fundamental now in everything that I do. It's this idea of attaching new habits to habits that you already do, right? So let's say, you brush your teeth and you shower every single morning. Let's say that takes you 10 total minutes to do or 15 total minutes to do. A great habit to stack during that time is to pray during that time, right? Because that's 15 minutes where otherwise your mind might just be aimlessly wandering, or you might just be thinking about what happened the day before, or you might be thinking about things that you have on the docket for the day ahead. What if you spend that 15 minutes in prayer? What if you habit stack on your 20-minute commute? You habit stack a podcast that can teach you something, right? Or an audio book so you can do that learning that we talked about. If you have a 20-minute commute to somewhere and you have a 20-minute commute back home, that's 40 minutes a day or a week or however often you make that commute that you can be learning and growing and implementing these things that you want to implement just by simply stacking a habit, just by simply saying, instead of listening to music on this day for the 40 minutes that I'm commuting or the 30 minutes that I'm commuting, I'm going to listen to an audiobook, or I'm going to listen to a podcast that helps me grow. Habit stacking is essential, right? Let's say you get your morning coffee, you have that regiment every single day, and that's where you have the okay, my mind is fresh, it's ready to go. I've just completed my morning routine. I've got my morning coffee. Here's where I'm going to literally write down my top 3 priorities for the day. Or let's say you have a specific time every single day that you work out, and that's when you're going to send your accountability partner a little check-in text. One of my favorite things that I've been doing over the past couple of years is daily accountability with one of my good friends, Travis, as well as now a couple of others, my brother Bryce and our other friend Bobby. We've been doing accountability in terms of fitness goals and meeting fitness goals and challenging each other with fitness goals. So one guy does 10 pull-ups with 45 pounds draped around his waist, and the next guy's like, all right, I'm going to top that. I'm going to do 11 pull-ups. And then you just kind of have this fun back and forth, right? And it's fun because there's a little element of competition involved, but you're also not doing that journey alone, right? And there's so many different people that you can surround yourself with in order to really support what you're trying to accomplish in terms of implementing these habits. And that's the next thing that I want to talk about, right? It's this power of environment and community and how we kind of rise and fall to the level of those around us, right? I mean, you've heard it said before, maybe you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? Make your environment supportive of those habits that you want to implement in your life. Surround yourself with disciplined people because that will normalize discipline in your own life. And it extends beyond just this idea of having accountability like I have with Travis and Bryce and Bobby when it comes to working out, and we challenge each other in that way and we're pushing each other in that way. But get it into your algorithm, right? There's no secret. We spend so much time on social media. We spend so much time consuming content. You might as well get the content in your life that's actually going to benefit you, that's actually going to help you. And I'll maybe put some of this stuff in the YouTube caption as well, so you can maybe see who I like to listen to and look at. But when it comes to growth in leadership and my, the development of my mind and the development of me as a human being in terms of leading others, I love to listen to Craig Groeschel and his leadership podcast. I love listening to Carey Nieuwhof and his leadership podcast. Get those fixtures in your life that are appointment listening, appointment viewing, so that you have those people in your life as well, even though you may never talk to that person in real life, but they're influencing and impacting your life because of the way that they're consistent in theirs and bringing that content to the table. Get that stuff in your algorithm. There's other accounts that I follow on a consistent basis, from different workout stuff to healthy eating to whatever topic it may be. You can find people out there who can push you to be, at least challenging yourself to implement these habits daily. So for example, in the bodybuilding world, Mr. Olympia is Chris Bumstead. I'm never going to be Chris Bumstead, right? I'm never going to be Mr. Olympia. That's fine. I don't want to be Mr. Olympia. I don't want to be Chris Bumstead, but I want to learn from that guy. Why? Because he's gotten to Mr. Olympia level by implementing these daily disciplines and habits, right? On a smaller scale, there's tons of other people out there who kind of blend this realistic lifestyle with, healthy alternatives to everything, right? And I love this account called the Flexible Dieting Lifestyle, right? He's all about making those foods that you love, things that you love to eat, like burgers and fries and chicken nuggets and ice cream and pizza and brownies, all these things, and you make them in a healthier way so that you can meet your fitness goals while also not having a boring chicken and broccoli and rice diet, right? You've got to find these people to surround yourself with people who have, they're like-minded in terms of their pursuit of these goals that you can also realistically apply to your life piece by piece, right? It's not an instant download of everything. It's not a, hey, I'm going to overhaul my entire life in a single day. Again, it goes back to those incremental small changes that you make over time that lead to those long-term results that will help you live out your purpose in life and achieve those goals that you have in terms of implementing healthy habits, right? Accountability, it's huge. You got to have that structure. You've got to have people who will help you stay accountable to the things that you're doing, people who will check in on you and say, hey, are you still reading? What are you getting out of your reading? Are you learning? Are you growing? Are you setting action items for yourself? Are you pushing yourself in the gym? How much time are you spending doing this? And having that accountability is huge because it bridges the gap between intention and execution, right? We have great intentions. We have the best of intentions, right? We have these lofty goals, but how do you go from intention to execution? You can only get so far by yourself, right? You need those other people in your life who are pushing you and who are asking you, hey, are you doing this? Are you doing that? And then you can be that for somebody else as well. My closing challenge for every single one of us is very simple. It's choose one habit, right? Stack that one habit on something that you already do. It could be something super simple. It could be something super simple as I want to read 30 chapters of the Bible over the next month. It could be something as simple as I want to work out 20 times over the next month. And you spread that out over a 30-day period. You can stack that habit however you need to do it. So if it's reading, it's creating an additional 15 to 20 minutes in the morning. Maybe you wake up early. Maybe you set your alarm like you've never set before, right? You say, I'm going to wake up at 6:30 every day. I normally wake up at 7. I'm going to wake up 30 minutes early, whatever time that would be for you to be able to implement this, and then track your progress, write stuff down, right? That's so helpful. It's so helpful to know, hey, I met my goal on this day. Even just checking a box, even just, hey, I'm going to get out a piece of paper. I'm going to write a check mark for 30 straight days. Did I do this? Did I accomplish that small little thing that I wanted to set out to do today? Whether it is reading a chapter or 10 pages of a book, whether it is adding a podcast into your commute, whether it is getting back to the gym, whether it is eating healthy, whether it is saving a certain amount of money, put a check mark down on a sheet of paper so that you know, hey, I did this today. And you can track that progress and just see over 30 days what that change looks like in your life. Again, our dreams, our goals, they don't necessarily create results, right? They may be the catalyst for those results, but it's the habits and the daily disciplines that truly transform our goals into those stories that we get to tell later and help us live our purpose. If you got value out of this podcast today, man, I would really appreciate if you go ahead and hit subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a comment for some feedback. Let us know, hey, what are the things that you are pursuing this year in terms of those new habits that you want to implement into your life that maybe have seemed daunting in the past, but hey, I feel like I'm not going to bite off more than I can chew. I can do this small piece every single day. I can take this small step every single day and see where those small steps will lead me over time. Let us know what you're going to be working on over the course of the next month, the next year. We appreciate you so much today for tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the show.